Hey, I'm Mike Kramer, KramerNow.com, and I help struggling entrepreneurs build passive income without expensive software or fake gurus by building unique digital assets that help others. You know, like blogs, YouTube channels, online courses, that sort of thing. That's what we mean by digital assets. These are assets that, unlike social media, that your content just dies. Your digital assets I help you build will last and stand the test of time. So since we spoke, it's been almost a week. Actually, I think maybe 8 days since we spoke, what I've done and learned since the last podcast. So we got a lot to go through today because some of this is catch up. And I was rambling about a couple different topics when I was researching this episode. So I was on vacation the whole week before Labor Day. By the way, I hope you all had a great long weekend. And I've been doing some home improvements like mad, cleaning and painting our shutters, front door, bathroom cabinets, you name it. We're using black for a lot of this stuff, like black satin, and it looks really good, really sharp on a lot of these items. So I never thought I'd be painting it black like the Rolling Stones song, but here I am. So on the business side of things, I'm about 70% done with real estate license training. I was hoping to be at 80% by today, but I'm happy with my progress and doing a little bit each day. And that's what's most important is daily progress. So I had to deal with some major e-commerce issues for my store. So for those of you who don't know, I run an e-commerce store called Base Alien. The thing is, I resurrected the store, right? I ran this is about e-commerce and what platforms I use. So hopefully this will help somebody out there. I resurrected the store. I ran it online from about 2012 to 2014, shut it down because there were two major things happening in my life, and I just didn't have the time or money to continue the store at the time. So my day job was moving offices to another Chicago Loop location. It was a Herculean effort in which I was coordinating most of the technical aspects of it, even though I got very little credit for it. So I put in a ton of hours for that and weekends, and it was very successful. Ended up, it was great, learned a lot. Then my wife and I were moving in our personal lives as well. So I had to finish renovating the old Victorian we were living in, find a new place to live, sell the old place and move out. It was just utter chaos at that time in our lives because we're moving work and moving my home and things were not great. I go into that in other detail another time, but you could read it on my blogs and most about me pages. I mention it just because we were in a bad neighborhood and we needed to get out. Long story short, my business grew very quickly, the Base store, and I had to decide to either quit my job and go all in on the Base store, which I really wanted to do, or vice versa. So sadly, I closed the store mostly because it just made more sense at that time. Here we are 8 years later. I brought the store back, rebuilt it online better than ever before, got many of the same vendors back and back with new relationships with all those people, and things were mostly going well. Except that once I started making sales, I quickly realized that WooCommerce sucks ass, and I should have instead rebuilt it from the beginning on BigCommerce. I'm a big fan of BigCommerce, so which is what I used originally back in 2012. I did this big analysis comparing Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and some other ones that were AmeriCommerce. I don't even know if they're around anymore, and just some other vendors at the time, right? And BigCommerce came out ahead. I mean, it wasn't like by leaps and bounds, but they were clearly the winner. They still are in my book. I've looked them over, and for what, I'll break it down in a minute. So of how I'd recommend it and for who. So the lesson here is I'm an IT expert. It's what I've done my entire career. I've been building websites with various platforms since the 90s. And I think WooCommerce on WordPress is a giant pain. It's buggy and it sucks. I still use WordPress for blogs, but it sucks for everything else. Well, it sucks for e-commerce. Let's just say that's clear to me. So I could understand if learning all the techie stuff was worth it, just to save the money because you don't have a necessarily monthly payment. But if you got way more features and if it worked more smoothly, things like that. But it's quite the opposite with WordPress and WooCommerce. So you have to guess which dozen or so plugins you're going to need and which ones are best, and everyone has an opinion, and they're all different. Their plugins are pieces of software that'll get you all the functions you want, the security, the speed you want, And then you just pray that it all works together. And God forbid you have to update anything, because there's a 90 or so % chance something will break and you won't notice it for days. And forget troubleshooting. You'll mostly be frequently restoring everything from backup. So what do I recommend for e-commerce and things like that? Or for website platforms in general? So it depends on your goal and your skill set. If you want a blog that might expand to have training courses and funnel landing pages, and you're a little bit techie, go for WordPress and the Thrive suite. It's $300 a year, but it will get you everything you need and more, and it works very well. I wouldn't do e-commerce on it. It technically adds functionality for WooCommerce and stuff like that, but just because WooCommerce sucks ass, I wouldn't use it. So if you're not techie at all and you want all those features except for e-commerce, go with Systeme. So I've done some videos on it. It ranges from free to $27 a month. Depends on your needs. It's well worth it. It even has an online course platform if you want to start selling your own courses. It has funnels, a blog, everything except for e-commerce. Well, I mean, technically it does have an e-commerce platform, but it sucks. So if you want to do e-commerce, go with BigCommerce. Shopify reminds me too much of WordPress, except that it is easier to use than WordPress, except for the apps. So Shopify has a bunch of apps that you have to piece together to figure out what you want. And I really hate that. As a store owner, store builder, you got enough to worry about. And it's enough to learn even these drag and drop, software as a service platforms, that you should be able to just focus on that and have everything else work for a monthly fee. And it should all work together. I understand there's always going to be integrations with your payment, merchants, whatever, your payment, with your payment gateways, with your shipping platforms, things like that. But, maybe print on demand stores for apparel, whatever. But other than that, everything else should be integrated. In fact, those things should be integrated and you just plug in your API keys or whatever. Shopify is pretty bad at lots of categories. If you have that, lots of variants or SKUs, which are like different products and variations. If you have less than, my general rule of thumb, if you have less than 100 SKUs and you want an easier interface, go with Shopify. Anyone else should use BigCommerce. Or if you're a high volume sales, go with BigCommerce, because Shopify, unless you use their payment gateway, like Shopify Payments, which I haven't used, maybe it's decent, but if you don't use their payment gateway, they charge you a transaction fee on top of your payment gateway's fee. You're basically paying double, like instead of 2.9, you're paying, almost 6% with Shopify, unless you use their payment gateway. So BigCommerce, anyone else really should use BigCommerce. It's way better. It's way faster. And it's so much better for e-commerce. There's so many little features that they don't mention in a lot of the comparisons. I mean, BigCommerce might, but then you're just thinking, oh, well, Shopify makes it sound like they're better. And so you can't really trust the people that make their own software. They're quite biased, right? And a lot of other people are biased because they're trying to justify the platform they chose. So I'm telling you, I've looked around. I have no skin in the game. I'm not even an affiliate for either one of them. And I would go with BigCommerce, but based on those general guidelines I gave. So I suppose this episode could have been about building websites and e-commerce platforms, but it's not. So now it's time for our deep dive. So our deep dive today is narrowing down your niche. So we had other episodes on picking your niche, finding your niche. And one recently on finding your niche is my latest method I've gotten from several other smart people on how to do it well. If you're like me, you went through the niche brainstorm exercise that I mentioned in that previous episode and were left with perhaps way too many ideas. So if you're not sure how to narrow it down, I have some tips for you. First, decide what is your goal and why do you want to create these digital assets like a blog, like a YouTube channel, an online course, things like that I recommend to make money online, which also help other people. I made a spreadsheet. You could use Google Sheets, Excel, whatever. It listed all of my ideas down in the first column, and then I made these columns next to that. What niche it's in, what method it is, right? Is it an online course? Is it a blog? There aren't really rules to these, but you want to kind of have some things that are generic to categorize and other things that are more specific to separate them. So I had niche, method, category. As you start typing them out, you'll see what I mean, because some are like, oh, it's the same category, but it's actually a different niche, or it's the same niche, but it's a different category. So as you type them out and fill out your form, you'll know what I'm talking about. Is it passive or active income? What is the income potential? Like, rough guesstimate is how much you think you could make in a year. If things went really well and you worked your ass off, some of them will max out at $5,000 a month. Some ideas will max out, maybe they can make $1 million a year. I don't know, but your best guess at the potential, and then how many years it would take to hit your income goal. Some people are looking for just a couple grand extra a month with a blog and a niche. It's pretty simple and isn't going to wear you out. Other people want to hit, double their salary, replace their salary, get rich or whatever that means for people. It's different things, and make a lot more money. And you're going to have to work harder in general, and you're going to have to find a vehicle, so to speak, right? You hear investment vehicles. It's sort of like that. It's like your business vehicle. What is going to get you to Millionaire Island? You got to find something that's going to work. So other columns are like forms of monetization. And that would be like, is it ad revenue, affiliate marketing links? Are you selling a product? Are you selling an online course? Those are forms of monetization. Another column is it quick to start up, or is it going to take quite a while because of either licensing or whatever that could slow you down, obstacles, barriers to entry for that particular thing. What are the startup costs or capital required? And you're basically guessing at it. Like a blog, you can guess $100 or $2 or whatever. But if you want to add, cost of advertising it or hiring writers or other things, you got to look that up on Fiverr or something. But starting a blog, for example, is very cheap, but starting a real estate rehab investing business where you need the tools, you're doing it all yourself, that's going to be very expensive to start up. So I know we're mostly focused on niches for how to make money online, but I'll give you a cool little secret in a second. Other columns are, the effort required to get this business going and keep it running. Is it a ton of effort, or is it something you can easily do in your spare time? So is it a lot of effort? I kind of do like t-shirt sizes on this. Is it a small effort, medium effort, large effort, extra large effort? And do you believe it works, right? So that some people hear this idea and they're like, oh, that sounds great. But do you really believe it works? A lot of people that have made the kind of money you want to make with that method? Or do you know no one except for a guru that's pitching you that idea, So that's what I mean by believe it works. And is it something do you believe you can do, that you can pull off? And I'm not trying to get in the mindset thing, because you really need to believe it's going to work if it is a feasible idea. You have to believe in yourself. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, do you believe that this method, that it's possible to be successful and hit your income goals with that method or not? So here's the cool trick I was going to say. So you could use the same method for your career to determine what path you should take or career you should pursue. This same method helped me double my IT salary by focusing on what's important. So as an example, I had a list of 30 or so things to find my niche. So then I focused on ideas or niche using that spreadsheet in those columns. You could sort them and everything. Ideas or niches that were lower startup capital, right? So you could sort by how much guesstimate startup capital you need. Look for the ones that need less, ones that were lower effort, not some Herculean effort, ones I believed in that could actually work. They're sustainable and I felt good about it. And what I mean by sustainable is like, there's certain things out there that might be good niches, but I don't believe like everyone can do it. It's part of the reason I don't teach people how to make money with one method only or with one niche only, because I don't believe in that and I don't think it's sustainable. I want to show as many people as possible how to use their own unique talents and experience to help other people by building different digital assets. And the only ones that last that I believe in as digital assets are online courses, blogs, YouTube channels. Maybe there's another one, but that's it. This social media that comes and goes, your content disappears, buried forever, short form content, all it's really garbage. It might be entertaining. It might get you some views, might get you some traffic, but you're not building digital assets with that. You don't own any of that. Oh, the other really big important digital asset that I should never leave out is an email list, your contact database, right? That's your most important digital asset. Not necessarily digital, but you know what I mean. I realized that at the risk of hitting analysis paralysis again myself, which I have a history of, I don't want to choose the wrong path. It's what would keep me from getting started with things because I'm thinking, I'm willing to work my ass off for something if I believe in it and I want to do it for 3 to 5 years. So that's very important. It has to be something that you see yourself working your butt off for 3 to 5 years. For myself, what I came up with was, after all this analysis, was online course on one of my niches, a blog on one of my niches, and a real estate agent. So I know. Hold on, the real estate agent. I know it's not a way to make money online. Well, not traditionally anyhow. But here's my thought process. I'll get to that in a second. But note that no matter what I did for analysis, what I came up with was online course or a blog on one of my niches. And that's what I teach other people like you, is how to get those things done, how to find your niche, and how to develop an online course, a blog, even a YouTube channel if you want to do that. So back to the real estate agent, using this process I described, I realized there's no way that my IT career could double my salary again. Like no one would hire at that rate anytime soon, even at the top, CISO level, C-level exec, which I don't even think I want to do anyhow. But a real estate agent can make that kind of money. It's not easy, not at all. Too many people make the mistake thinking it's easy because it's possible and they see it on TV or wherever and they think, oh, it's easy to make that kind of money. But I know it's not. It's hard as hell, and you have to make at least 50 phone calls a day trying to get leads. 95% of the time, people are telling you no or yelling at you. But it is possible for me to double my income that way. It is possible. So here's why it's worth it for me. Everything else I want to do financially, just for myself, would be better, easier, and more profitable if I was a licensed real estate broker. I will likely find out about deals sooner than anyone else that I could buy for investment purposes. I will network with people that I want to network with anyways to be a real estate investor. And I can even make 2.5% or so when I sell or buy my own house, like for personal use. So back to the niches. So this episode's all over the place today. So hopefully that helps you narrow it down. Figure out if your goal is just to make a few thousand per month extra, or if you want to make, like 40 grand a month. Granted, more money is generally harder and more work, but it tells you where you should be focusing. Because the best way to get to Millionaire Island that I always talk about is to build one bridge to get there and focus on that one bridge until you get there. But you have to know that that method works, that design works, and then have unwavering faith that you'll get there with consistent, extraordinary effort. Now we got from the library. Wow, kind of loud. I'm reading Miracle Equation by Hal Elrod. I failed. I'll be honest, I was on vacation. I haven't read that much, just a few pages since we last spoke. But man, that guy has been through a lot, and he follows the 5-minute rule. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that in a past episode. He gives himself 5 minutes to vent whenever something horrible happens, bad news, bad health, an accident, anything at all. He literally will set a timer, and in that 5 minutes, he can punch a pillow, yell, swear, be angry, upset, cry, whatever. When the timer goes off after 5 minutes, he says 3 words: can't change it. Then he moves on. He even did this when he was told that he would never walk again. He did this when he was diagnosed with a rare and deadly cancer. The guy's incredible. So great book. Check it out if you haven't yet. Miracle Equation by Hal Elrod, and his previous book was The Miracle Morning. Time hack of the day. All right. So this is a specific technique or method to save time. So pay people to do things that you cannot hire for. I'll give you an example because it's kind of a weird description. We hired some guys to come in and trim trees and bushes, clean up brush piles and stuff in our yard. Before they arrived, my wife she wanted to, be productive or busy or whatever, went outside to trim a few bushes. And I said, hey, I think it makes more sense to leave that for the guys that I hire that are coming, and that we should spend our time doing things that we can't hire someone for, like going through stuff in our own basement and deciding what to keep, stuff that other people couldn't do. So my time hack is to hire people for things that you can't hire for, and focus your efforts on things that make more money than what you're paying others to do, for those tasks, or to do things that you cannot hire for. So, all right, thanks for your time. Let me know what you want to hear next. Links to the books and things I mentioned will be in the description. Check my website, kramernow.com, which I'm rewriting still as we speak. And I'm adding step-by-step guides at the bottom. You could find links to all my socials, podcasts, books I'm reading. Find me on YouTube. Just search for Mike Kramer Affiliate Marketing. I'll come right up. Have a great day and take it easy.